Hello and welcome to the Going for Bronze webinar. My name is Adam and I am part of the FORS Quality Assurance team. The purpose of today's webinar is to help you prepare for your FORS Bronze audit and to enable you to make the most of the help available on the FORS website. By the end of the webinar, you should be more confident to navigate through the FORS website, as well as know how to book an audit, what to expect at an audit, and what to look out for when evidencing the requirements. So the subjects for today, we will cover off the registration process, the benefits that are included in your annual subscription, where you can book your FORS training courses and view your training records, and of course we will take you through how to achieve FORS Bronze accreditation, how to book your audit, as well as the common audit fails and how you can avoid them. So why is FORS for you? FORS is a voluntary accreditation scheme that promotes best practice for vehicle operators. FORS covers aspects of safety, efficiency and environmental protection by encouraging and training fleet operators to measure, monitor and improve performance. It provides accreditation pathways for operators of any type and for those organisations that award contracts and specify transport requirements. FORS Bronze, Silver and Gold accreditation offers a progressive accreditation where operators can achieve improved levels of best practice. FORS operators are working to practice best standards that are above the legal minimum and have access to a wide range of exclusive benefits that provide a real competitive advantage. So how to register for FORS? The first step on your FORS journey is to register on the FORS website. So you will first need to click on register and then click on register as an operator. So this will then take you to the registration form. You must read and confirm that you agree to the privacy statement and also the FORS terms and conditions. So once the application has been submitted, we will assess this and call you to confirm your details and talk you through the audit process. Once registered, you will have 90 calendar days to pass your bronze audit and become a FORS Bronze accredited operator. FORS has 3 accreditation levels, bronze, silver and gold. However, today we will be concentrating on bronze only. There are 3 accreditation types that operators can register as. There's the Single Operating Centre accreditation, which is known as SOCA. This is for operators with only one operating centre or operators who just want one of their operating centres accredited. There is Multi-Operating Centre accreditation, also known as MOCA, and it is for operators with more than one operating centre. And there is also the Internal Audit Fleet accreditation, or IAFA, and this is for members with 16 or more operating centres that use their own in-house auditing team. Just a note here, please contact the FORS helpline if you are thinking of registering as IAFA, as the registration process is slightly different from a SOCA or MOCA registration. Once registered, you will start receiving our regular e-news updates. These are articles which not only keep you up to date with FORS, but also with industry news. To make sure you receive all of your FORS communication, please add FORS to your safe sender list. Let's have a look at the company dashboard. So your key company information can be accessed from your FORS dashboard. To log into the dashboard, click on Organisation Login. Before booking your audit, you will need to ensure that you have downloaded and read the FORS standard in conjunction of the following documents. The FORS standard, please make sure you have the latest copy of the standard and that you have read through the requirement, purpose and demonstration for all the bronze sections. You can find the bronze sections on page 6 to 49 in the document. The rules and procedures, it is important that you familiarise yourself with this document. It explains in detail the audit process and also what happens at reapproval audits. It also covers how you can progress to higher levels of accreditation. Terms and conditions. Your FORS accreditation are governed by these terms and conditions, so please read these carefully. And the FORS Quality Assurance Guide. This is a guide that explains the activity undertaken by our quality assurance team to ensure that the FORS standard is being maintained. It also explains how your FORS accreditation may be affected if you are in breach of the terms and conditions. The Vehicle Safety Equipment Guide advises operators on what equipment needs to be fitted for bronze requirement V6 vehicle safety equipment, and also for silver and gold should you wish to progress. Now we will run through some of the benefits that FORS has to offer. There are a variety of free toolkits which can help you prepare for your bronze audit. You will need to be logged into your account to access these. These can be found by clicking on the Toolkits button in the far right hand corner. For example, you will find the Audit Toolkit, which will further help you prepare for your bronze audit. We will provide more details about this later. A Counter-Terrorism Toolkit is also available, which can help with bronze requirement 07 counter-terrorism. These toolkits I have mentioned will help you with bronze, but there are also toolkits which can help you with progression to silver and gold. FORS also provides a number of free toolkits to help you communicate key information to your drivers. These cover a range of subjects such as daily walk-around checks and safe loading. There are also some free guides available. The Driver's Hours Guide can help you with bronze requirement D7, and the Tyre Management Guide is available to help you with bronze requirement B7. FORS Affinity partners. Currently we have 10 Affinity partners. These are companies which provide FORS branded products or services. They're provided directly through the scheme to help you achieve and maintain your accreditation. Driver License Checking Service will help you with bronze requirement D1 licensing. This is a service which can be used to check the license of anyone who drives for your business, even if they are not part of your commercial fleet. FORS Fleet Management System. This system consolidates all of your fleet management data, such as fuel cards, telematics, driver information, and training records. It has been designed to make it easier to provide the right information against each of the FORS requirements at audit. SJL Insurance Services works closely with fleet managers for a range of vehicle types. Managing multiple vehicles takes time, and the inevitability of claims can cause additional overheads. SJL Insurance holds access to specialist insurance markets, and the dedicated account managers will help you find solutions to your insurance needs. FORS Tacho Service is a simple, easy-to-use, cloud-based tachograph analysis package which can be securely accessed anytime, anywhere, and was designed to help streamline driver and vehicle data reporting. FORS Health and Fitness offers access to your fitness club's offerings on hundreds of health, fitness, and well-being products and services. My FORS Transport Planner is a revolutionary pay-as-you-go web-based transport planning tool designed for commercial vehicle operators of all sizes. FORS Driver Handbook helps fleet managers cut waste and save time with a technology solution that revolutionises driver communications. FORS Legal offers quick access to expert transport lawyers for an affordable monthly fee at a fixed price, offering industry-specific solutions. FORS Vehicle Graphics Service will help you meet bronze requirement V6 vehicle safety equipment by providing vehicle graphics such as warning signage and FORS logo company ID stickers. And last but not least, the FORS Fuel Expert is a flexible fuel card service that caters for fleet operators of any size and vehicle type, and can help you with O2, fuel emissions, and air quality. Another operator benefit is access to our FORS Associate offers. FORS Associates are suppliers who provide exclusive offers on products or services aligned to the requirements of the FORS standard. You can see the full list by clicking on the FORS Associates offers and discounts button on your dashboard. Now I will be moving on to the training section of the website. Promoting continual professional development in fleet operations is a key priority of FORS. This helps ensure both managers and drivers have the right knowledge and skills to operate safely, efficiently and legally. You can find a training tab at the top of the website. FORS Professional is a suite of training courses and e-learning modules that cover a range of day-to-day operational issues. Manager training is delivered directly via the FORS virtual classroom. Driver training is delivered under license by either in-house or commercial training providers. The FORS Professional training is delivered face-to-face delivery, either remotely or physically, and e-learning, which can be completed by individuals online. There are e-learning modules for both drivers and managers. Each individual will need to register to get their own login details. Alternatively, driver e-learning content can be delivered face-to-face as group e-learning. The group e-learning package can be downloaded via your dashboard where you will find full instructions. FORS Approved is driver training that is developed and delivered by in-house or commercial training providers. The content is approved by FORS against a set of training objectives and learning outcomes to ensure alignment with the requirements of the FORS standard. In addition to FORS professional training, we have a number of informational webinars, including Demystifying FORS and Clocks, which explains how FORS and clocks, the Construction, Logistics and Community Safety Scheme, are aligned. All courses completed are uploaded to the FORS Professional Training Register via the FORS Training Portal. The FORS Professional Training Register is a register of individuals who have completed either FORS Approved or FORS Professional training. To view your driver's training records, you can search by either their names, company name, or driving license number. You will need to log into your account to access this. If training has expired, it will no longer show on the register. And if you notice any errors or missing training, then please contact the FORS helpline who will be able to explain how these can be corrected. Now I will talk you through the bronze audit booking process. You can request your bronze audit via your dashboard under the Manage Bronze Audit section. You will need to complete the audit booking form. The form will be automatically populated, and the only section which you can amend is the vehicle totals, which needs to be done prior to submitting your request. It is very important that your fleet size is correct, so please check and amend if necessary. Choose your preferred date and times. Please make sure your chosen date is no later than your registration end date or the current bronze expiry date. You will need to choose the audit delivery method, which can be either on-site or remote. On-site audit takes place at the operating centre you wish to accredit. The remote audit is carried out via a web link. Once the audit request is submitted, the auditing team will be in contact within 2 working days. Let's look at some top tips we've covered so far. To make sure that you have downloaded and read the FORS standard and the associated documents, that you've gone through the bronze audit toolkit, that you've looked at the audit FAQs on the FORS website, that you register all drivers for e-learning or downloaded the group e-learning package. Please remember, most importantly, the training needs to be completed prior to the audit. And please make sure you are also receiving your copy of the FORS e-news. Check your junk mail and add us to your trusted source if you do not believe you are receiving them. So now we are going to look through the FORS standard. The FORS standard is the backbone of the scheme and provides a structure for operators to adopt a best practice and move above and beyond the legal requirements. The purpose of the FORS standard is to ensure, within fleet operations, certain minimum levels of legal compliance, safety, efficiency and environmental protection. This will help to assure your clients that you are meeting the required fleet operational levels. The standard is split into 4 sections: management, vehicles, driver, and operations. We will cover these in detail later. Like any quality assurance system, the focus is on the key influencing factors that are necessary to ensure the business is operating safely and efficiently. FORS has identified 4 key themes, each one contributing to the overall aim of the scheme and aligned with the various grades of accreditation. It is expected that a FORS Bronze accredited company has satisfied the basic requirement and has developed the foundations to maintain a fit and healthy organisation. The benefits to anyone contracting with them would be the knowledge that they have significant measures in place to reduce risk, that risk being related to safety, operational activities, the environment, and to the image of the company and the sector. There are also added value and ethical benefits that are evident with a FORS operator. Specifiers will know that contracting with an operator that is serious about the safety of vulnerable road users such as cyclists, pedestrians and motorcyclists, for example, serious about training their employees, especially drivers, cares about the environment and can provide evidence of how they reduce the emissions and commit to long-term improvements, can only be positive for a long-term customer-supplier relationship. I think it is important to go through some of the terminology used in the FORS standard. Each requirement is broken down into 3 sections. There is the requirement itself, the purpose and the demonstration. The requirement is the exact requirement that FORS is expecting you to adhere to. The purpose is the reason why the specific outcomes are required and why that bronze requirement is expected to be met. The demonstration is how you, the operator, can meet it. This could be providing hard copies of documents, or they could be in electronic format. The demonstration could be a verbal if you are a small business, but the most important thing is how the demonstration is met to evidence that you meet the requirement. You can do this by whatever means as long as you can satisfy the auditor's questions. You can also see that on the right side of this slide, under each section, there is a reference to other sections where this question will be pertinent to. For example, professional development plans, PDPs, developed as part of meeting the bronze requirement D4 professional development, has those 3 areas on the right hand side, highlighted by the yellow arrow, that are linked to M1 FORS documentation, M2 records and M5 communication. Specific terms are used within the FORS standard, and a full glossary of terms is available at Annex 4. Terms relating to the FORS requirements are shall, should, and may. These definitions are available under Section 2.5 of the FORS standard under terminology. There are 32 requirements in FORS Bronze, and there are also 32 shalls, because each requirement will require a shall to indicate something that is compulsory, as opposed to best practice or optional. A should indicates something that is recommended as good practice that you, a company, think going forward is better than the baseline. A may is something that is indicated as being optimal or an emerging best practice within the industry or by the discipline that you are working to. So it is imperative that if there are shalls, they are noted as compulsory, shoulds are recommended, and may is best practice that is emerging within the industry. Moving on with more terminology, a policy is a document that determines the rules and strategic direction of your organisation. Under FORS Bronze, there are 16 policy documents that are required to be evidenced at the time of audit, so make sure that you clearly define the direction in which the organisation is heading in each of the sub-policy documents. A procedure is about detailed steps that are cascaded in detail to the transport-related staff. The policy gives the overarching direction, the strategic organisational thrust of where it's going. The procedure is the detailed information that allows the policy to be communicated to the transport-related staff in language that can be understood. In terms of risk assessments, there are 16 required risk assessments within the FORS bonds, which we will cover later under M8, but basically they are where we mitigate risk as far as reasonably practical to make sure the workplace is safe for the transport-related staff. With regards to the operating centre, if you are an O licence holder, there is a requirement for you to contact the Office of the Traffic Commissioner and register your operating centres. Operating centres can be where there is infrastructure, or they could be parking facilities where vehicles are just parked but they are still classed as operating centre. However, the FORS definition is slightly different. Operating centre in scope of accreditation is the site where there is infrastructure that supports the management and control of the day-to-day operational deployment of the fleet. So if you've got a parking facility where you park your vehicles overnight, that is not classed as an operating centre under FORS. It must have an infrastructure, daily management control and day-to-day operational deployment of the fleet. Under health and safety requirements, if you have fewer than 5 employees, you don't have to write down your risk assessment or your health and safety policy. Instead, you can give your instructions verbally. With FORS, we are in line with this, but we also include vehicles. So if you have less than 5 vehicles and less than 5 employees, you are classed as a small operator, and you can provide evidence verbally to demonstrate to the auditor that you meet the certain bronze requirements. The auditor will ask you questions and you can give the answers either verbally or you can give your answers part verbal and part written. That is unless there is a legal requirement, for example, within vehicle insurance, to have the legal documents available at time of audit. So to be clear, if you have 5 vehicles and 4 employees, then you must have written policies. And also if you have 4 vehicles and 5 employees, then you must also have written policies. But if you have 4 vehicles and 4 employees or less, then you can present your policies and procedures verbally. The Bonds Audit Toolkit is accessible on FORS Online and has been designed to help you towards a successful audit, offering tips and guidance for every stage of the process. As I mentioned earlier, the on-site audit takes place at the operating centre that is registered under the scope of accreditation. Please remember that you are required to declare any changes to your details, such as operating centres or vehicles, to the FORS helpline immediately, or in some instances, such as the relocation of your operating centre, before the change takes place. More information can be found under section 7.1 of the Rules and Procedures. It is imperative that you are represented at the time of audit by the people who manage the transport operation. They don't necessarily have to be in the same room as the auditor throughout the whole audit, but they do need to be made available to answer the auditor's questions in a timely manner to make sure that all the FORS requirements can be evidenced at the time of the audit. In terms of who will conduct the audit, there are approximately 65 trained FORS auditors working for the audit providers on behalf of FORS. These are fully trained auditors, experienced in the logistics industry, who have completed the FORS approved auditor training and are quality assessed throughout the year. It is important to remember that while the FORS Bronze Audit will check that an organisation has a valid operator's licence, where appropriate, for the operating centre that is being audited, and that many of the policies and procedures checked relate to operator licence undertakings, FORS audits are not operator licence compliance audits. To be clear, FORS accreditation is not confirmation of compliance with UK vehicle operator licence and will not protect you from a prosecution or action taken by a traffic commissioner at a public inquiry. And about the length of the audit. If you are a small operator and so can give most of your evidence verbally, then your audit should take approximately 2 to 3 hours. If you are a larger operator where your policy documents have to be evidenced to the auditor at the time of audit, then it can take between 4.5 to 5 hours. You can expect to receive your FORS audit report within 10 working days of your audit. The 10 days covers the audit being conducted on day 1, The auditor then has 2 days to write up the audit report before sending it off to the audit provider for quality assurance. This time also includes an allowance for the FOR's quality assurance team to be able to randomly select audit reports to check that the audit providers are auditing consistently and in line with the FOR standard. If you have not received your audit report by the 11th day, then you can contact the FOR's helpline team, who will be able to find out where your report is. So that concludes the administrative elements of the bronze audit. What I'm going to do now is take you to the 4 main areas of the standard and provide some top tips to help you to pass your bronze audit. Under the management section, there are 11 requirements in total. Today we are going to cover the 4 that are highlighted in red. M1 FOR's documentation. There are 16 written policy documents that cover the whole of the 32 questions. These must be signed by senior management or the senior directors to acknowledge their existence, that they are in date and current, and that they reflect what is expected from the business. If these are your documents and must be written if you have 5 or more employees or vehicles. If some of these documents are missing or they are not up to the required standard, then you could receive a major non-conformance, which would mean that you'd have to complete a follow-up audit. M5 communication. This is about the communication of the policy documents that are covered under M1 to the transport-related staff. This can be delivered through driver or employee handbooks, talks, driver briefings, notice boards displaying which policy documents are in place and that are to be required to be delivered or communicated to all transport-related staff. M7 regulatory licensing. If you have a light commercial fleet of vans or vehicles that are not required to be operator license regulated, then this section would be answered with a not applicable. Operators often fail this requirement due to failing to ensure that the company directors nominated to Company House are also included on their O license. You need to make sure that the specific O license that is being evidenced at time of the audit is the one relevant to the operating centre that is being audited. M8 Health and Safety covers 16 risk assessments. 8 of these are general risk assessments from the Health and Safety Executive, and there are a further 8 that are specific to the bronze audit. I would strongly recommend that you do not use not applicable for any of the 8 health and safety risk assessments, or the 8 that are relevant to the FOR standard, possibly with exception of specialist operations for the carriage of dangerous goods, or STGO, where companies do not deal with these. Now let's move on to the vehicles area. There are 7 requirements and we will focus on 3 of them. V1 serviceability and roadworthiness. This question takes quite some time to answer as it requires a lot of details. You must have an inspection and maintenance plan in place that includes all vehicles in scope of your accreditation, either as hard copy or electronic. This must have 15 months worth of historical records and at least 6 months forecasted. This will have to be evidenced at the time of audit. V2 daily walk-around checks. The daily walk-around check must be completed at least once every 24 hours if the vehicle is in operation. For example, if you run a 5-day operation and you do not complete these checks on day 6 and 7. During the days when the vehicles are utilised, they must have at least one walk-around check completed on each vehicle per day. Nil defects are to be retained for a minimum period of 14 weeks unless there is a PMI or safety inspection carried out that can supersede or write off the defect sheet. We will cover off the vehicle safety equipment requirements in a moment under V6, but these must be included as items on the daily walk-around check to make sure that they are serviceable and in place each day. Another tip to consider is that the auditor could check V2 first when doing the audit. So the auditor will ask to view the daily walk-around checks, note any defects that are reported against the registration numbers that they select, and then go into the V1 documents for the relevant vehicles and check if these defects have been rectified during the PMIs that are conducted on services which are forecast on your daily planner. So the auditor could ask you for a mixture of V1 and V2 questions at the same time Look at V2 before V1 or vice versa. V6 vehicle safety equipment. For the bronze level, this includes Class 5 and Class 6 mirrors, or a camera monitoring system and side underrun protection to be fitted where reasonably practical. So, for example, if you have a road sweeper and you've got working mechanisms that come in and out of the side of the body, it is not practicable to have the side underrun protection fitted. You will have to justify this at the time of the audit though. The vehicle safety equipment requirements also includes the fitment of advisory warning signage on the rear of the vehicle. Please make sure this is not offensive. If it is offensive in any way, it will be classed as a major action point. So please make sure that it is advisory only, warning the vulnerable road user of the blind spot on the near side. Moving on to the driver's section. Here again we have 7 requirements and we will concentrate on 3 of them, D1, D4 and D6. D1 licensing is the requirement to conduct driver license checks every 6 months. The maximum spread is 6 months between each license check, so we will need to make sure that your drivers hold the appropriate license. Driver license checking procedure shall include a requirement for drivers to sign an annual declaration. Also, for vocational licenses, when you get to the age of 45, then you must renew your license and have another medical check completed, and then completed every 5 years thereafter. There have been instances historically where this has not been completed, and people have been seen driving vehicles they do not have the correct license for, as they fail to conduct the appropriate medical procedure for renewal. High-risk drivers need to be checked more frequently, so you must have a risk-based checking system in place. This means that if you have a high-risk driver who has an accumulation of penalty points, then they must have a shorter time between each check. This could be dictated by yourselves. It could be every month, every 2 months, every 3 months. If you are using a third party to check the license checks, then you must make sure that they are aware that there is a requirement to have a risk-based frequency of checks. Otherwise, they will just conduct the 6 monthly checks, which is the minimum requirement. Drivers must also report penalty points received to you, because ultimately you can have a driving license check completed today and they are all clear, but then they accumulate penalty points tomorrow, the following day, and you've got 6 months of potentially high-risk drivers driving your vehicles on public roads where they represent a risk for you as a business. D4 professional development has been one of the major areas where operators have failed at audit over the past couple of years, and there has been an increase in what training you need to have completed to meet the standard. The training requirements are available in the 4 standard under Annex 1 for drivers and Annex 2 for managers. There are 5 categories of vehicles that we deal with. HGV, which include plant vehicles, PCV, van, car and powered 2-wheeler. So the Annex 1.1 is for HGV, and 1.2 is for PCV, and so on. Today I will cover off the requirements that relates to the HGV driver at bronze level. As you can see, there is the work-related road risk safety e-learning that needs to be completed every 12 months, and the security and counter-terrorism training to be completed at every 24 months. So if you have an audit which is pending, then at least 90% of your drivers will be required to have completed at least one of these safety e-learning modules, and also the security and counter-terrorism e-learning module. D6 Health and Eyesight. As with D1 licensing, there is a requirement for 6 monthly eyesight checks to be conducted. I would like to emphasise the word check. It is not a test. Somebody does not have to be suitably qualified or have an official or industry recognised qualification. It is a simple check to make sure that your drivers are fit to get behind the wheel you are issuing them that day. So your drivers must stand 20 metres from a standard number plate and they are asked to read it off. If the driver fails his eyesight check, then they must have an official test conducted by a qualified individual, such as an optician. So to reiterate, eyesight checks are to be completed as a maximum of 6 months between these checks, with all of your drivers completing it. Evidence must include the date that the check was completed, the person who conducted the check, the license number that was used, the eyesight check result, and whether it's a pass or fail, and if it's failed, who the driver has been referred to. There is also a requirement to have a health declaration completed when the driver is first employed, and then every year thereafter to make sure that drivers are declaring their fitness to drive. There are multiple ailments that are required to be declared for your driver's fitness and health safety declaration. There is also a recommendation that companies should also carry out drug and alcohol checks. However, this isn't a shall, it is not mandatory. We will now move on to the final section, operations. There are 7 requirements to be evidenced in this section. 3 of them are asking you to nominate champions. You've got the fuel and emissions champion at 02, the road risk champion at 03, and the counter-terrorism champion at 07. For 02, fuel and emissions and air quality, apart from nominating a fuel and emissions champion, the company needs to be aware of and monitor fuel usage in order to reduce emissions and increase air quality. 04, passenger safety. A lot of companies think that this requirement is not applicable for them as they don't operate passenger carrying vehicles. But really, if you have 2 seats in your vehicle, then you can carry a passenger, and so you must ensure that you have a policy and risk assessment in place and that it has been communicated to your transport-related staff. 07, counter-terrorism. The counter-terrorism champion you nominate does not have to be a subject matter expert within counter-terrorism, but instead should be the focal point of pulling together relevant information from the relevant sources and passing this to the relevant transport-related staff and the management of the business. The Force Counter-Terrorism Toolkit on the website outlines what actions should be undertaken and when, as well as what phone numbers to dial and how the policy should be written. It will not provide you with a policy, but does give you all of the tools you need to be able to write your own policy. Moving on to the next slide. These are the top 6 reasons for an unsuccessful audit. The first top reason is M1, FORS documentation. Operators fail this requirement by not having all of the required FORS documentation in place. The 16 policy documents that are required, or that they haven't been signed, updated or reviewed. Another reason for failure is the M8, health and safety. It is usually down to the failure to provide one or more of the mandatory health and safety risk assessments. Please remember, as we said before, the risk assessments are put in place to mitigate risk as far as is reasonably practicable. For the 8 mandatory risk assessments of the 4 standard, there must be a very good reason for these to be accepted as not applicable to your operation. The next top reason for failure is D4, professional development. Operators failing to make sure that all of their drivers and transport-related staff have undertaken the mandatory training courses. You must make sure that you get all of your drivers and all of your other staff involved in the fleet operation trained in accordance with the mandatory training requirements list in Annexes 1 and 2 of the 4 standard. Don't forget to record all training completed on a training matrix, or if using the 4's training dashboard, then make sure you include all employee names. You can also fail D4 if you do not provide a professional development plan, PDP, for all your staff. A top tip here is that a PDP and completed training can be evidenced in the same document. Remember, e-learning modules normally take around 30 to 35 minutes to complete. They're very good and give the ability for any driver to break the cultures of drivers saying they don't need any training as they have been driving for years, and it also refreshes their knowledge on a regular basis. D6, health and eyesight, is another top area of failure. This is due to failing to carry out the eyesight checks at the relevant 6-monthly interval. However, if, for example, one of your drivers has missed a check because they were on a long-term sick, then this would be seen as a justification. If this is your first audit, as with all the policy documents and checks that are required, this will be verified. You can also fail D6 if you do not have a policy in place which relates back to M1, but specifically to the health and safety policy. If there is no policy in place, then this would be a major action point. Under V1, serviceability and roadworthiness. Failure is generally due to vehicles not being maintained in accordance with manufacturers or guidelines or the requirements of the operator's O licence. Or it could also be because there is not 15 months worth of historical data relevant to the vehicles that have been checked at the audit. The vehicle registrations to be checked will be selected at random by the auditor, so you've got to make sure you've got your 15 months of historical data for all the vehicles in scope, and at least 6 months forecasted in the future planned maintenance. With regards to 07 counter-terrorism, it is about the failure to provide evidence of risk assessments and policies. This is crucial as the policy is the intent of the business, and the detail that's pushed out to drivers know that the policies and procedures are in place with regards to counter-terrorism. This requirement is also failed if no evidence is provided that risk assessments are being communicated to staff. This can be done via toolbox talks, making sure that you have signatures for all of the policy documents that are required, that they have been read and they have been understood by all the relevant transport staff. So those were the 6 top reasons for failure at bronze audit. Currently our pass rate is around 70%, with 30% failing on their first attempt. The vast majority of operators pass their bronze audit because they have taken the time to carefully look at the 32 requirements and have everything ready in place for the audit. From an auditor's perspective, it is absolutely fantastic to come into a company and know that everything has been lined up, whether as hard copy documents or filed electronically. What is fit for you is fit for the auditor, as long as you are able to evidence all of the requirements for the 32 questions covered in the 4 sections. Should you have received a major non-conformity and have therefore been unsuccessful at the audit, there is a requirement for you to be able to pass your follow-up within 30 calendar days of notification. If you remember earlier, we said there were 10 days from the audit to notification. If you don't agree with the result of the audit, then you have up to 5 working days to appeal. In that case, the 30 calendar days which was been given for completing the follow-up audit has been paused. If the audit is upheld, then it will be addressed. If it hasn't been upheld, then the clock starts ticking again, and you must rectify the issues that were noted. Book your follow-up audit, whether it's a field-based or a desk-based audit, and have it completed all prior to the expiry of the 30 days. If you fail to complete the follow-up audit within the 30 calendar days of notification or a failure, you will be required to have another full audit conducted at your organisation. This is now the end of the Going for Bronze webinar. I hope you have found this useful. Remember that there is a wealth of support offered on FORS online, so please take the time to have a look through everything that I have highlighted. If you have any questions, then please contact the FORS helpline using the contact details at the bottom of the screen, and they will be happy to answer any of your queries. Thank you for your time and good luck with your audit.